So today we're going to cover the second day over solving quadratic equations by factoring. And so what you're going to notice is a problem you just asked me. And what we did is we got it factored down to this. And by the way, this is number 22 from your assignment from yesterday. And so if you notice, I want you to look at that and I want you to tell me what you notice in that expression.
The things in the parentheses are equal.
Ah, would you say it louder? That is exactly what I wanted to hear.
Me?
Yes.
The numbers in the parentheses are equal.
The things in the parentheses are the same. They're equal. Okay, if you said that earlier, that was a great observation too. This is what we're looking at. Now, one of the things about factoring, if you have the things in the parentheses that are equal, what that means is that is one specific factor. And so if I wanted to factor this down further, I can start by writing 4y plus 5b. That is one factor. Can somebody guess what the other factor is?
8x minus
8x
Yep.
minus 3a.
8x minus 3a. Now, for those of you that didn't see that right away, I want those of you who did to tell me where that comes from.
outside.
Ah, it comes from outside. So if you notice, I have an 8x here minus 3a. So that is how we factor something that has the same thing in the parentheses. Now, believe it or not, this is actually one of the steps that we're going to look at now, because we're going to look at how you factor something that doesn't have 1 as an x squared. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. And in fact, you know what? What we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take off the equals 0 for now. We're just going to factor this. So this will be like the first few problems that you have. Yeah.
When you said that if it doesn't equal 0, you don't need to factor it anymore?
You just stop with it in factored form. So you don't have to find the solutions. And we'll do it right now, and we'll show you what you need. So when the x squared is not 1, okay, the first thing you need to do is look to see if you can take anything out in common. So is there anything in common in this problem? No. Okay, it's a quadratic. So in order to solve this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first number times the last number. Remember when it was a 1, I would just look at the last number. Well, now since it's not a 1, I'm going to multiply the first and the last, and I get the number 10. Now, for those of you saying it's a negative 10, don't. It's a positive 10, and we're going to use that negative sign shortly. So we're looking for two factors of 10 that, now do you remember how we worked backwards? That's what we're going to do now. So two factors of 10 that differ by 3. And what are those factors of 10 that differ by 3?
2.
5 and 2. And then remember, how do I get a negative 3 from 5 and 2?
Negative 5.
Negative 5, positive 2. So then now my next step is going to be to rewrite that whole statement using negative 5 and positive 2 instead of negative 3. So first of all, I've got a 2x squared. That stays the same. Now if you remember what I said, I don't want negative 3x. I want to use the negative 5 and the positive 2. So I've got negative 5x plus 2x, and then what's going to be my last? Minus 5. So all I did is rewrite the middle term. Notice if you look at it, if you combine the x's, you get exactly what we started with in the black. So then now I've got 4 terms. So looking over at that one we did on the board, when I had 4 terms, what did I do?
Put it in parentheses.
Put it in parentheses, so I grouped them. Okay, I grouped them by 2's. So now what I'm going to do is look at each of those 2's individually. First group, what is in common with 2x squared and 5x? An x. That leaves me with 2x minus 5. Okay, what's in common with the next? There's nothing in common. And so what we always do when there's nothing in common, we will always take out a 1. So when you can't take anything out, you always take out a 1. And then that leaves me with 2x minus 5. Now if you've done things correctly, if you've done things correctly, these two should match. If you haven't, if you don't get them to match, then you've got to go back and rework it. And that is one of my factors, 2x minus 5. My other factor will be what? X plus 1. There you go. And so that is how you factor 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. So when it doesn't have equal 0, this is where you stop. Now if it would have had equal 0, then you would have set each of them equal to 0 and what from there?
So,
So
how would you number 24?
how about we look at another one first? I've got a couple. Okay, let's take off the 0 on this one. We won't solve this one either. We'll solve the last few. Okay? So, very first step, I look to see if I can take out something in common with 15, 8, and 1. Anything in common? No. So now what I need to do is take first times last. And what do you get? 15. So now I'm looking for two factors of 15 that add up to 8. What are they? 5 and 3. How do you get a negative 8 from 5 and 3? Negative and negative. Yep. So now my next statement will be 15x squared minus 5x minus 3x plus 1. So now what I need to do is I need to group. So when I group, one of the things I'm going to have you do is group the negative sign with the 3. Otherwise you'll lose it. Okay, otherwise you'll lose it. What can you take out from the first grouping? 5x. What does that leave me with? 3x minus 1. Now, what can you take out from the second one?
1.
Now, let's be careful. Remember, our goal is to get this to match 3x minus 1.
Negative 1.
So this is a negative 3x. So let's take out a negative 1. When I take that negative 1 out, what does the second grouping become? 3x minus 1. Good. Once again, let's check. They match? Yay! So that's one of our factors. My other factor will be 5x minus 1. There you go. Questions? We got a couple more. Oh. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this one.
Are you solving the 0 now?
What should we do first? Divide by 2. There is a 2 in common. Now this is the reason why you want to look for something common, because if you multiply first and last, you're going to get 24. When you divide by 2, you're going to get a number much smaller. So what I'm going to do is take out a 2. And notice how I'm going to do that. I'm going to divide through everything by a 2. And I'm left with 6x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Now what you're going to do is first times last. Two factors of that differ by 1. What is it? 2 and 3. How do you get a negative 1 from 2 and 3? Negative 3, positive 2. So let's rewrite that. 6x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. Now just a little note. Say for example you switched around the negative 3 and the positive 2. You will still get the same thing when all is said and done. Okay, at the very end. Your process though might look a little different to somebody else though. Let's go ahead and group. Oh, I see I've got a negative here, so I need to make sure I group that in the parentheses. What can you take out from the first quantity? How about a 2x? And what does that leave me with? 3x plus 1. What can you take out from the second one? Negative 1, and that leaves you with 3x plus 1.
What do you do with the 0?
Okay, we'll take care of it. So what do we notice?
3x plus 1.
Yep, 3x plus 1 is one of our factors.
2x minus 1.
2x minus 1. You guys are doing awesome with this. 2x minus 1 equals 0. So then now, zero product property states that either 3x plus 1 equals 0, or what else equals 0? 2x minus 1 equals 0. Do any of you remember our little shortcut?
Negative 1/3.
Perfect. That's our first solution. What's my next solution over here? 1/2. Nice job. So those are your two solutions. So when it has the equal 0, this is what you need to do. When it doesn't, and it just has an expression, you can stop at the orange step. How are we feeling? Pretty good? I love factoring. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Okay, so now you have negative 3x squared minus 10x plus 8 equals 0. Now this one's a little different than any of them that we've looked at. How is it different?
Negative 3.
Negative 3 to start with.
So will you make your bottom number negative,
You know what I would do?
Divide by negative 1.
Perfect. Let's divide by negative 1. And then that way, we've made the problem a lot easier to do. We don't have to worry about that negative. So if your lead term, and lead term means the first term or the x squared term, if that is negative, get rid of the negative sign. Okay. All right. First and last, what do you got? Two factors of 24
Oh.
that differ by 10. What are they? 12 and 2. Good. How do you get a positive 10?
Positive 2.
Excellent. So you have 3x squared plus 12x minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Let's go ahead and group. What do you take out? 3x, and I get
X.
plus. What can you take out from the second?
Negative 1.
Negative.
2.
Okay, and look at what you need to get. You need, so then that leaves me with x plus 4. So now, what is one factor? X plus 4. What's the other one? 3x minus 2. So now we need to solve. So I need to set each of those equal to 0. What's first solution going to give me?
Negative 4.
-4. What's this solution going to give me? 2/3. Nice job. And there you go. So questions? Okay, factoring is something that will especially follow you through to next year if those of you take pre-calc, because we do use factoring, so it's important we have a good base there. This is what I need you to do. I need you to add 35 and 36, and then I've got a separate worksheet for you to do. Okay, and so that is what we're looking at for tomorrow.